Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of What If Naruto Had Kamui. In the last part, he basically killed a lot of villagers. Not like all of them, he didn't completely wipe them out, but he got pretty damn close. So Naruto did that, and then he left the village, where we were pretty much about to find out where Naruto was gonna go, or maybe who was gonna find him. And that is what we're going to discuss in this part. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's just jump right into the what if. We zoom back to Naruto walking through the forest. At this point, he's already been walking for days. He's going really hungry at this point. He hasn't actually had a real meal since he pretty much left the village, and it's not looking all that great or up for Naruto at this point. He's been eating, wild animals and different things like that, but Naruto doesn't really have any way to actually cook them or do anything like that. So he's been trying to not eat too much because he doesn't want to get sick or anything like that. He'd rather just go hungry for a few days and do that. So eventually, Naruto would continue this cycle, just barely eating and continuing to walk, until eventually he reached the destination at which he was going. As Naruto reached his destination, he went down into this lair hideout looking something. He wasn't really sure entirely what it was, but he found some interesting things before leaving the village, such as Mizuki actually being in contact with Orochimaru in his search for power. And they had a kind of a meetup spot, and Naruto knew that he was supposed to meet him today. He also knows one thing. Orochimaru hates the Leaf Village, and part of his goals are actually to completely destroy it. So that's the first place Naruto would go. He goes to Orochimaru because maybe he'll just be welcomed there. So Naruto goes to the hideout, and unlike when they actually went with Mizuki and he did his whole whatever transformation thing, Orochimaru is actually there this time. So they both walk in, and they're just kind of walking around. There's a bunch of really dimly lit hallways that they're walking down, and eventually they come upon a door. Once they open it, standing at the other side is a very shadowy figure sitting across from them, this obviously being Orochimaru, who is known they're here and also knows their story, or not theirs, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying there, but knows Naruto's story because he has some intel, or some people inside the Leaf that tell him sensitive information, along with the fact that Naruto, he has a Mangekyo Sharingan, and maybe just be the perfect host for a body. So Naruto, walking in here, and Orochimaru is trying to act like he's the one in charge here. And he begins by saying, "So, what have you come here in search for? Revenge? Maybe a little extra strength? Maybe you just want to completely destroy the village?" Naruto just kind of nods. He's like, I guess kind of all of those, kind of fit in there. And then Orochimaru says, well, I can help you with that. I, as your guide, as your leader, can help you to reach your goal. Naruto nods his head a little bit, but then he questions Orochimaru. You're not even stronger than me. So how are you supposed to help me in this conquest? Orochimaru, hearing this, obviously doesn't just believe Naruto at face value. What do you mean I'm not stronger than you? I'm definitely stronger than you. I'm one of the legendary Sannin. I'm stronger than Jiraiya and Tsunade. It's he's basically saying that. Naruto's yeah, well, I have something that you could never imagine. Something so dark that you won't even really know what hit you till you're already dead. At this, Orochimaru is kind of curious, kind of questioning what Naruto could possibly mean. Why is he so confident in his abilities just because he has some sort of Mangekyo Sharingan ability? Come on. Mangekyo Sharingan are powerful, however, they come with their drawbacks. But Naruto doesn't even have those drawbacks because, Kurama, so, whatever, that's the thing. But, with this, Naruto questions Orochimaru with one final question. Are you gonna help me, or are you going to betray me in the end? Orochimaru, thinking that, he can't really get such a rambunctious kid on his side anyway, but either gonna take his body now or just kill him and take his Sharingan. He hasn't decided yet, but he decides that he'll banter with this kid a little bit more, as he tells Naruto that, yeah, he was going to betray him in a few months and take his body. Naruto, hearing this, just kinda nods a little bit and decides, alright, then you're gonna have to die. With Naruto saying this, he lunges forward towards Obito. His physical speed is pretty insane at this point because of how much more of like Kurama's chakra he's been able to pull out lately, so he completely completely rushes Orochimaru at this point. He has the Mangekyo, which would boost pretty much everything, with a little extra Kurama chakra on top of that, plus being able to phase through attacks. So Orochimaru, he is not even going to be able to hit Naruto in this fight. They fight for a little bit, and Orochimaru is having a tough time trying to understand how his ability works, and how he could possibly counter it. He's thinking of different ways, and eventually he does get one idea, similar to something that like Minato did. He just needs to get him while he's, trying to like suck him into his dimension, because he has to remain tangible when that happens. So when Naruto goes for the head snipe once again, Orochimaru takes this as his opportunity. Ducking out of the way, he lunges forward and tries sending a, sword straight through Naruto's gut. Naruto gets pretty much sliced, like he isn't cut in half, but it does a pretty good amount of damage. Naruto looks up at Orochimaru now, and he gives him a little bit of a devious smile. Orochimaru wonders what he could possibly have to smile about at this point, because, what just happened. And a bunch of the Kurama chakra, like 4 tails, comes out, and it heals Naruto immediately. And Naruto goes completely berserk, as Kurama takes over for Naruto now. Now, not only is this half of the night, let's say it's at like a 6 tails at this point once it like broke free. Or not broke free, but you get the point. But it also has the Mangekyo Sharingan, so anybody who gets anywhere near it is gonna die. So Orochimaru dies. He gets absolutely diddle-dunked down by Naruto, and he's completely destroyed at this point. And Naruto realizes, after regaining control after a certain amount of time had passed, that what he needs to actually be able to do is maybe just take over the entire world. That could be kind of fun, but he wants to save the best for last, that being the Leaf Village, because, those are the ones with the most memories for him to be able to absolutely demolish. So Naruto goes around different villages. And eventually speaking, obviously Naruto would be confronted by, more nations. The first one that Naruto went after was the Sand Village, where he easily overtook was the Kazekage even actually in power at this point? I don't remember. But we're just gonna say that, it was what Obito is like, whatever. So it isn't actually like the Kazekage, and Gaara's there, but at this point, what's an 8-year-old Gaara gonna do to, whatever this Naruto you'd consider him to be at this point? He's kinda OP. Yeah, just remember the fact that Naruto's like 13, 14 years old right now, so yeah. He's got some room to improve as well as time goes on. So, Naruto, let's just be honest, he completely destroys the Sand Village. Nobody even knows he's attacking, and he just snipes the head off of a few of the more powerful people there. The rest go down easily after that, and this is where the first actual conflict, for like the true conflict, Naruto would actually have. He is going to be attacked by the Akatsuki now, because they obviously would know that the Sand Village has been completely wiped out, including the One-Tails Jinchuriki, by a single rogue ninja. And he came from the Leaf Village, along with the fact that he's the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and for some reason he has the Mangekyo Sharingan, even though he's supposed to be in Uzumaki, but whatever, who cares. So, with this actually happening within days, Naruto would be confronted by, let's just say, Obito Itachi, and Pain. Just the 3 strongest. They didn't think that anybody else would be necessary for taking on Naruto, if they were gonna be completely honest, because he wiped out an entire village, and they don't know his strength, along with the fact that he is the Mangekyo Sharingan and the Nine Tails. They're gonna take this quite seriously. So, the way this fight, these different sequence of fights would go would be that Itachi would go down first. He might be able to trap Naruto and maybe you could say he would be able to trap Naruto in some kind of genjutsu, but we saw Sasuke break out of it, so I'm just gonna assume that that was that's what it was implied, is that Sasuke was able to break out. It was never stated otherwise that Itachi let him out. It was just guessed by a bunch of different people. So I am going with the conclusion that he was able to break out of it, so anything that Itachi had, Naruto would be able to break out of with his Mangekyo Sharingan. So this leaves... Okay, so yeah, like I said, Itachi is gone. His stamina would not last in this fight, whereas Naruto's and everybody else's would last longer. Next would be all of the Paths of Pain. Naruto at this point is much stronger than his Sage Mode counterpart at the other point in this show, and this is where the most interesting part would actually happen. His fight against Obito. So, this is the one fight that neither Naruto nor Obito would actually be able to use Kamui, because they both have it, so if they just face through each other's attacks, they would just get attacked in the other dimension, kind of a thing. I don't know exactly how it works, I'm just gonna go with that because it's the simplest to explain. So, let's be honest here. The physical strength, well, Naruto would have the Nine Tails, but even as, KCM2, he was still barely able to actually damage Obito. So, a 12-year-old Naruto only being able to use up to, maybe 6 tails because of how much the seal has weakened at this point, I'm sorry to say it, it's just not gonna be enough to defeat Obito. It's just not. Obito would eventually get to the point where he has at least one of the Rinnegan in his eyes, because, Naruto killed Nagato, and he would end up taking the Rinnegan, and this would massively begin to favor him in the fight, and the fight would end with him taking the Nine Tails out of Naruto, and Naruto would die. And that's just kind of okay, I'll finish what would happen with the rest of the Leaf Village, just because it'd probably be a good idea. So, the next things would happen pretty normally. There's a 5 Kage summit, Obito goes and declares war, and the rest of the Akatsuki members are actually, or not all of them, Itachi and Nagato are both dead, but the rest of the Akatsuki members are actually still alive for this battle to get all of the tailed beasts. Most of them would come really, really easily. The only one that I would say they would have pretty much any difficulty getting would be the One Tails and the Eight Tails. The One Tails because it hasn't actually revived yet, and the Eight Tails because it is the strongest Jinchuriki other than what Naruto was. So the Eight Tails would be got, and it would be gotten pretty easily. Let's be honest, he's not, B is not that strong, not compared to Obito or anybody like that. But the main issue would indeed be the One Tails, because we don't know exactly how much time it takes for a Jinchuriki, or not a Jinchuriki, but a tailed beast to revive itself. So we'll just say that it still works, because you can summon the Ten Tails without different bits of chakra. It just would be weaker, but this one would be stronger than the actual original version, at least at the beginning, when they first summoned it. It was stronger than that one because that only had half of the Nine Tails, and half of the Nine Tails is way stronger than the actual One Tail, so it didn't even have half of the Nine Tails. Whatever, you get the point I am trying to make. So with this actually happening, there are 1 or 2 outcomes depending on how you see the story going. One, the Ten Tails, Obito, and Madara completely wipe out everybody. The, Infinite Tsukuyomi is done by either Obito or Madara. Both of them would do it. Doesn't really matter who actually won. And that means that Kaguya would eventually come out because Black Setsu would make it. Kaguya would continue like bolstering her army and getting chakra fruits until eventually Ishiki and the rest of the Otsutsuki would arrive, and they would fight, or Kaguya might surrender. I don't really know, but that's pretty much how scenario 1 goes down. Scenario 2 is a scenario where Sasuke actually ended up like staying in the village the whole time, like he never went to go and like tried to do anything with Itachi, because obviously he wouldn't. But then again, this Sasuke, okay, so how the scenario is gonna go. Sasuke has already somehow, some way evolved into the Mangekyo Sharingan, and he gets killed in some way, or like put in a near-death situation, and Hagoromo would come out. He'd give him all of his power, and that version could either end with Madara and Obito still winning if they absorb the 10 tails, because this version of Sasuke is so much weaker than the original one, because he doesn't have EMS or this or that. Like he doesn't have any of the major stuff that he did have that made him so powerful. So most likely this scenario ends with Kaguya, Madara, Black Zetsu, those kind of people winning, and it just kind of ends from there. So thank you guys for watching the finale of this What If, and I'll see you guys in my next What If, which might have something to do with Ultra Instinct.